Okay, how's it going? Today we're just gonna draw some creatures together, and that's kind of it. So I'm gonna draw 6 across the page, and as we're doing that, I'm gonna talk a little bit about just drawing in general and kind of like your emotions while you're drawing. And I want to talk really fast about a really important topic that I think people always bring up to me, and that is generally, what is it that makes people very good very quickly? And in my opinion, it is a couple of things, and it's kind of the untangible things. So this might sound a little bit ridiculous, and you might think, you know what, that's wild, that's crazy, But the truth is, it's very important, and I don't hear anybody talk about it, and that's why I really want to discuss it. And I think, for me personally, when I got this fixed, it was the biggest changer of anything that I had ever kind of met. That anything changed was this thing. So some people will come up to me sometimes, and what they'll say is like, "Oh, this, I'll never be as good as that person. I'll never be as good as this person, or I'll never be as good as them or them." When someone says something like that, I just feel like I know they're not gonna go very far, in my opinion. Like, they're gonna quit later, they're gonna get disillusioned, or they're gonna just get exhausted by the entire process and quit. And I feel like I see that all the time because, right? Like, why is that? Because when you talk like that, you are automatically training your mind to go in that direction. It's your mind is very consistent. Your identity is very consistent. And if you say to yourself, "Oh, I'll never be that good," your brain is going to go, "You're right. You're not." And what might start happening is you might self-sabotage. Maybe at certain points when you're really going to make some breakthroughs. You are going to make maybe excuses, not normal excuses, but you might make excuses in a way that you normally wouldn't have. You might kind of get lazy in like this kind of odd, it's like a little bit of a different lazy sense where you just feel unmotivated for certain ways. There's just ways that you can sabotage yourself with that mindset, because you're just like, why even complete this? Like, why even do it if I'm never going to make it there? Why? Your brain's going to go, why even start that if I'm never going to hit there? Why start that? And you don't really want to go down that path. When you start, or if you're a beginner, your mindset should be, "Oh, that is cool. I'll be there one day." That's it. If you see an artist you admire, you're like, "Oh yeah, I'll be there one day." That's it. That's all you got to do. Just know that, hey, with training, with persistence, with practice, with work, I will get there at some point. And just kind of knowing that is a big deal. So you really want to kind of bake that in, and kind of tell you got to train your inner mind to go, you know what, that is where I'm going to go. And so I was held back, and I've talked about my story a lot, but I'll say it one more time. I started out, and I got pretty good at drawing pretty quickly, and I kind of understood a lot of the technical stuff about it very quickly, and I think I was going pretty far pretty quick. I would say the first 2 years, and after, I was gonna say maybe around about the second year, I lose it. I totally, something happens where I don't know what happens. I'm getting worse. I thought I was getting better, and then all of a sudden I'm getting worse, and I'm like, how am I getting worse now? What's happening? What? I used to be able to do this. How am I not able to do that? Right? But let me talk. Let me take a break real quick to talk about this. This character right here. I was just thinking of any like humanoid, odd monster. If I want to add little, I mean, obviously these are so small they're almost thumbnails, but I want to add little flexion around the organic parts, right? I want to do that because I think it's pretty important to do that. A little flexion here, a little flexion here. There you go. And curve, curve, curve. There you go. So let's move on to the next one. I'm gonna see if I can do this next one. And I remember somebody kind of walked me back and was like trying to talk me, off the ledge per se, because I was like, I want to quit this. This isn't going the way I wanted to. Okay, let me see this figure. I'm trying to think of some other, monster here. I'm thinking of maybe something a little bit more dinosaur-esque, I would say. Yeah, I'm thinking of something a little bit more dinosaur looking. Anyways, but back to what I was saying. And it took me so long that, because I was kind of never taught this before. I was never taught that your perception is your reality. I never really understood that. I always thought that, oh, you know what? It's not a big deal. It's, I just thought that stuff was, almost like made up. I did not realize that what I was thinking was going to directly translate into my actions and, how I practice and how I, start working on stuff and how I, or any of that, that is something I did not realize. I did not realize that stuff, but it's almost everything. So, like I said, if you don't believe you can do it, you're definitely not going to do it. So it's important for you to kind of make that distinction and fix, maybe some personal aspects of drawing, right? Like those personal mind aspects, because it could just be like a learning issue, right? So it might not be that, it's tough for you to understand what's going on with drawing. It might be that, having the discipline, doing a particular task over and over again, could be the enjoyment of it, the enjoyment of the practice. All of that could very well, lead to you not producing the kind of stuff that you want to produce. So it's important that you check yourself. You start understanding what it is that you're able to do pretty quickly. That you're able to do a lot more than you think. You're able to do a lot more than you think. And that's something that you have to go through and understand. All right. This one I'm thinking Cyclops, Bugman, maybe. That's kind of what I'm thinking about. In general, this whole art thing is a bit of a mind game. It's a lot more of a mind game, I think, than people realize. It's not purely natural talent or anything of that sort. And it's strange how I have kind of run into that before. People think it's like a natural talent that somebody's born with. I find that very strange. I don't know where that came from, really, because it's so obviously a skill that anyone can learn, anyone can be good at. A lot of it is work ethic and understanding, and like I said, believing in your own abilities, and then some. All right, let's see. I'm gonna give this guy like a furry chest for the most part. I'm thinking that'd be kind of a cool look. Alrighty. And it's interesting because I know that I've seen so many, different artists kind of go in and out of kind of their experience and what's going on. So I've seen a lot of people like evolve in many different ways, especially throughout school. When I was at Art Center, you would see people kind of break from the pressure. And that was always kind of fascinating for me to check out. I always thought that was interesting. It was just kind of a fascinating experience to see some people thrive or some people come in. And I remember saying this a couple of times too. The person who went on to be the most successful in my class over at Art Center was actually one of the worst students. I remember he came in, he didn't know how to draw at all. It was like surprising. I was like, why is this guy here? And he went on to be the most successful guy. He went on to work in ILM, Disney, Pixar specifically, I think. And yeah, he went on to do so many amazing, great things. And it was wild to kind of see that. And it was pretty interesting. Let's see here. I'm trying to give him this guy like a little bit of I'm thinking like Power Rangers look, if that makes sense. I'm thinking of Power Rangers and those things where they have like, I don't just that kind of feel. I thought that would be very fun to kind of do. It's funny going into the hands here, you're kind of like, oh dang, I gotta think a little bit more than I wanted to. All right, but a lot of this is, working out different positions and thoughts beforehand. And trying to figure that out. And, trying to balance out certain things. Because when you're drawing a character, you're kind of creating the rules for that character, right? So if you draw one hand one way, unless it's an obvious imbalance on purpose, you are trying to figure those out. And you're trying. So at the very end, by the way, I want you to stay, because at the very end, I'm going to put another coat. I don't know, another coat of detail on them. So it's just something to keep in mind, because right now, doing that first kind of first and second stage, just kind of looking at them and generally drawing. Generally drawing them. There you go. Alrighty, let's scoot over here to the bottom. We're gonna keep going, keep on this train. This one, I want to figure out the character a little bit more. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab the pencil, my pencil over here. Let's see. I grab my pencil And I'm gonna work it out a little bit more than I should have beforehand. So that's literally what I'm doing right now. So I'm grabbing a pencil and I'm thinking, all right, I don't know what this blob is. I want to figure out a little bit more. Maybe something like this. I'm thinking some sort of bug creature. Not sure. Some sort of bug creature. The tail. Something like that. Not really sure here. Yeah, not really sure. All right, some sort of bug creature. I'm thinking, yeah, that'll work. All right. Anywho, let's get back really quick into kind of my thoughts about that whole thing. So it was strange to see where people ended up with Art Center. And I remember one of the most talented people there kind of ended up quitting the industry, which is sad, right? He ended up quitting, following his dream to do something. I truly feel bad when people totally quit. I think, I don't know, maybe because it hits on such a personal level. I'm just like, wow, that person quit. Like when I meet them again, like 5 years later, and I'm kind of like, oh, cool, what are you doing now? And they're like, oh, I quit. I don't do anything anymore. Like I don't draw anymore. I'm not trying to follow, my dream of doing something anymore. You're like, oh, dang, that hurts. It hurts because you relate, because I relate so much. And you want to make time for this stuff, even if you got to do other things, even if you need to, like, if your goal is to work in the industry, then push that goal. Of course, you're probably gonna have to get other jobs beforehand, maybe not, depending on what's going on. Sorry about that, I'm putting my hand there. But it should be it should be kind of like an organized decision. And if you can't really, like, let's just say you're not getting it immediately, you want to be able to schedule your time out in order to try to achieve that. And because there's almost always going to be time to organize if you need it. There's almost always going to be, let me see, let's draw a lot. A lot of this is going to be like animal anatomy that I'm trying to like recall from my mind. Something that animals have that you can think about would be the plantigrade, right? The heel, for example, over here, the heel is going to be really high up, similar to like a cat or a dog. Their heel's really high, where our heel touches the ground, right, when we stand up. And I believe it's called plantigrade and centigrade. Plantigrade and centigrade. You look at animals that do have that. I believe gorillas are plantigrade as well. I can't remember what other animals, but there's certain animals that that have that sort of thing. Like almost every big cat has a high raised heel. It looks cool too. I noticed, like, from monsters and then some. It looks really neat. All right, I don't know what that is, like some sort of weird Griffith or something. Let's move on to the next one over here on this side. What am I seeing? A lot of this can be, when you're drawing these shapes, you're kind of like, what do I see in these random shapes? And like I said, stay so I can do that last coat of stuff at the very end. All right, I'm like, I don't know what I'm looking at here. Let's see here. Let me make this like a thicker creature in general. Bigger creature in general. Still kind of want some sort of tail. I'm not really sure what this is going to be. I'm thinking like some kind of, maybe some sort of elephant-like person, or not person, some sort of elephant-like creature. Yeah, maybe bug elephant-like creature. A lot of it is going to be merging different animals. God, he has to have an eye, but I don't want to draw another Cyclops. But so maybe I'll draw something like that. And this isn't meant to be like high end or anything like that. I would be reworking the character design if I really was looking for some a little bit more high end. Right now, all I'm doing is just coming up with these shapes that I like and these different character qualities that I think are interesting, and trying to mix them up. Again, it's more of an exercise for my sketchbook, carrying you along for the ride, than it is for anything I'm going to use in the future. And let's see here. And right now, see, I'm just kind of with the abstract body form. And outside of the abstract body form, I am thinking, what am I thinking here? I'm thinking what the character, just kind of like how they're going to stand. I'm thinking of just generally how they're going to stand, how they're going to hold their weight up. Let me see. Maybe a thin tail here at the back. Kind of one of those bull tails or something. And see, now that I have the general form like that, I would have to wait a little bit, and then I'd have to go in and kind of fill stuff out. But yeah, because what I really want is I want to get rid of the pencil lines, and I can't do that because it's going to smear it. So I have to wait. But I'm thinking of some kind of elephant creature, some sort of Cthulhu-like monster. And I'm thinking, okay, he's going to be muscular. He's going to be standing there. All right. Let's go over here on this side. Let's move on, right, to the next one. And then we'll come back to these guys, all of them, and we'll go through them really quickly. Let me see. Line over here. And I want something with teeth. Let's see. I want something with teeth here, big mouth. So I'm kind of drawing in that first and trying to see if I can draw around it. Let's see. There's something like that without hands, where primarily it's his legs that are, running the show, that are his main focus. let's see, here, 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 and something like that. He's gonna need a tail as well to kind of balance him out. All right, we have that simplistic character. So what I really want to do after this is I really want to grab the kind of eraser that I need. So can't really find it. The eraser that I really need. Okay, let's go back across these guys. All right, so looking at him, and he's pretty, I would say the line work is pretty good. This is when I wasn't as tired. And now I'm kind of thinking about what kind of detail can I add? I'm going to add a little bit of dark around the bottom of him because I want the character to seem a little bit more grounded. And most of the light is going to be coming from above. I'm trying to make him slightly presentable. I'm not going to draw all the darkness in his mouth for now, but it's pretty decent right there. All right, and then over here on this side, gonna go over here and I'm gonna go to the next guy. Oops, sorry, hopefully I didn't blur too much. I'm gonna draw a little bit of darkness right here underneath his jaw. There you go, underneath the jaw. Good, good. And we'll put some dark in his mouth. I'm going to draw a little bit of the folding of the skin as I can, because you have to remember something too. This is a small drawing, right? The drawing's not that big. And since the drawing's not that big, you got to be careful with it, right? There's not as much detail. If the drawing was bigger, you could cram in so much more detail. But right now, it's not like that. There you go. Line. Over here, again, just kind of put in a couple of accent marks, things that'll make it a little more understandable to just the average viewer. Okay. Maybe one down here as well. This could be some darkness over here. Let's go over here on this side. Sorry, way at the end. Whoopsie daisy, too close. Let's go way over here on this side. Sorry, the camera's gonna, cool. And we're looking at this guy right now, same thing. We're trying to right here. Drawing a little bit more, how do you say? A little bit more firm shapes around his hand. We'll give him a iris. There we go. Again, right here, some dark in his ears. Again, these accent marks are, you know, they can make the difference a lot. Throwing these dark accent marks in certain areas to make the character just, wouldn't say more believable, but more believable like he's just standing there and hanging out. All right, let's go over here to this guy. Giving him a little bit of darkness toward the bottom. Again, some accent marks around here, around the armpit. That's another place. There's a thing called ambient occlusion, and that is kind of the darkest darks, you know, like cracks and stuff like that. Normally it's like in the armpit, areas like that. That's pretty much where that stuff is gonna be. There, right here under the neck. And yeah, there we go. It's kind of right here. Some little accent marks. Maybe right here in the lat. Latissimus dorsi. And possibly right here in the mouth as well. Okay, let's go over here on this side. There we go. I'm gonna put in total darkness in the eyes on this one. I just want it to look like the recesses of the dark. I feel like it'll look cooler to do that. There you go. Darkness over here on the bottom. Here we go. There we go. Again, some darkness over here in areas that fall back. It would be kind of the back of his body right there, and that's kind of what we're doing with there. I encourage you to do this as well, by the way. Just scribble on pieces of paper and see what you come out with. It's probably one of the most relaxing, chill things that you can possibly do. So I definitely encourage you to kind of take advantage of that. It's so ridiculously fun and easy to do. Let's go to this guy. See, this guy is probably the most, I would say, the most like incomplete guy in my opinion. So I'm thinking of, all right, how do we make this not look too cartoony? So I'm probably going to draw in areas like the gums to make it look like the teeth are attaching. You know, that really helps. Kind of shape out the arms a bit, like the folding of the arms in some areas. All right, line over here, putting in some darkness at the bottom. Sometimes a large pattern of darkness really helps out. That's what we're going for as well on this side. There we go. All right. And the anatomy here is a little bunched up. I'm not really sure. It's a little bit odd. It's not quite, I would kind of redesign this if I could, but right now I'm like, okay, we're going to have to come up with something. His feet are getting bigger as they go down, which is often not a thing to do. Right? Usually it just depends, right? On the end of a limb tends to be getting smaller usually, but in characters like this, you know, a lot of them tend to get bigger. But right here, we're just going across to make it readable enough. Maybe accent marks within the mouth. And there you go. Again, this is presentable enough. So if we were to zoom out of all these guys, and you can keep going, by the way. You could literally kind of keep going and, you know, maybe color these guys or do more, but that's pretty good for now. Hopefully you had a good time. Definitely watch this page. I'm going to be posting a lot, and I'll see you guys later, okay? See ya.